Good morning, friends. This is Jelly Bean. Stay tuned because Morning Inspiration with Friends is about to start. Grab your coffee or tea and tune in as my mommy inspires you. I'm going back to sleep, but you enjoy the message.
Well, good morning, Jelly Bean. Again, good morning, everyone. It is your girl, Tanisha Shanae, Miss Inspiration. We are here with another episode of Morning Inspiration with Friends. Sorry that the displays and everything are not the way that they usually are, but we're going to keep it rolling. So, this will technically be the last live of 2025. I know it's so sad. I'm so sad that this is going to be our last live together. But that's only for this year. Only for this year. We'll be back here next week. Next week. But the rest of the week we will have replays. So we're not gonna just be totally empty over here. It's gonna be some replays over here. So don't think I'm gonna like totally ignore y'all for the last couple of days. But today I want to talk about things that I love talking about. And ironically, I came across a post that I remember seeing this post years ago, but decided to, when it came up yesterday, it was just so fitting because we've been talking about careers and making more money and chasing after your dreams and your purpose. And I just felt like this was a great conversation to have today. So, yesterday I saw a post that was written in 2020. So I do remember seeing this maybe like 4 years ago, 3 years ago. And it is a comedian, it's a social media comedian. I think his name is Mojo. You guys probably know him. I know him from like when he was doing like baby mama don't want to be with him, but now she got a new man and he's trying to sabotage it, stuff like that. And you can tell he's a young guy. He's not like some 40, 50-year old. He's a young dude. And he shared, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you can definitely go to his page. Let's see. Okay. So this is the post. Someone else had posted it. Sorry for putting that person's name out there. But he basically said in a nutshell, and I'm going to just talk about it. He said in a nutshell that he was working a job back in 2020 when the pandemic had happened. And I guess that's when he started to do it. I'm trying to pull it up on my phone. And he said that his job found out that he did no. So he actually got let go in 2017 because he said this was on December 9th in 2020. That was 3 years that he was already let go from his job. So this actually happened before the pandemic. And he said that he worked at his job. He was fired by 10:30 a.m. that morning because they found out his Facebook page and they asked him to stop doing comedy and focus solely on the job. That was paying him about $20 an hour. He said he quit. He chose his dream over that $20 an hour job. He said his mom encouraged him to keep chasing his dream, and he's thankful for that and things like that. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation like that. And I have, right? And one situation I'm talking about is you have something that you're doing that you're really passionate about that's outside of a traditional 9 to 5. Your 9 to 5 finds out about it, and then they tell you can't do this. Or people are going to these jobs and they're signing contracts, and the contract states they cannot have any form of any outside of employment. That includes Uber Eats, DoorDashing. Like there are actual people. I've actually had a contract like that before, and I'm one of those individuals where I'll tell anyone I'm not gonna go homeless, go without if I have a job that tells me that you can't do this. The job that I had that said that to me was very ironic. It was a very unique situation because you guys know I'm a motivational speaker, and I started motivational speaking in 2013. I was hired by this particular institution as a speaker probably like 2014, 2015. Okay, so I was actually hired as a contractor by this institution to speak. They paid me to speak at this institution. Fast forward, I end up applying for a part-time job there to teach. They hired me, they offered me a full-time opportunity. I took the opportunity. When they realized, oh, you're still speaking, you need to stop doing that. And I told them, like, I'm not gonna stop speaking. They was like, oh, well, you're an author, you have a book, you can't put your book out. Like, what are you talking about? The book is already out. Like, by that time, I already had 2 books out. Good morning, Leo. I already had 2 books out by that time. Like, I'm not going to take my books off of Amazon, take my books offline. I'm not doing that, right? And I told them, I was very honest, very candid with them. I said, I'm not going to stop helping the people that God needs for me to help just because it makes you uncomfortable or you feel as though I'm going to stop focusing on my job, right? I'm not going to I'm not going to do motivational speaking gigs while I'm at work. Like, I'm not going to do things like that. If someone books me to speak on a Saturday, I'm going to go speak because guess what? It's my off day. And we did go back and forth for a while, but I had to like really remind them, like, this is not some, I'm out here teaching at another college, exactly still in your curriculum to go teach there. This is me pouring into individuals to chase after their dreams so that they can come to college if they're being told by people in their circle that they can't. Like, no. Like, and the answer was it was a very solid no. And I'm pretty sure they probably were not happy with that. But like I said, like, I'm not gonna stop doing that. And then fast forward when it came down, so when I started to do Uber Eats and DoorDash, I just started to do that because I needed to rebuild my savings, right? My paycheck wasn't enough. Like, sometimes companies, I don't know, they don't really believe that, they don't always pay their people enough for them to do everything that, you want me, you're telling me to tithe this and save 30% and have a savings account. But if you're not paying me enough, I can't do that. So I have to come out of my own box and start thinking of ways to do this. And I remember when I started DoorDash, I started Uber Eats. I only started it because I was bored and I was frustrated about something. And instead of me sitting in the house frustrated, I just signed up and I got accepted and I got started. Now, thankfully I did, because remember I said I didn't have a savings. Like, that's me being honest. I didn't have a savings back then at that time. And I did it Thursday, Friday, Saturday. That was my only goal. I'm going to do it for 3 days, couple of hours a day, nothing. And I had this money in my account that Sunday. So I'm a homeowner. And that Sunday, my toilet started to continue to flush. It just kept going. Now, although I'm a homeowner, I live in a building and we have a super. So I had to call the super and I was like, hey, can you help me with the toilet? Because by the time calling the plumber, I would have been flooded and that would have been thousands of dollars of damage. So he came, he fixed the part. I kid you not, the part was about this big, right? This big. This is how big the part was. It's not a huge part. $200. And he said to me, he was like, you don't have to pay me right now, but I want you to call some plumbers and I want you to ask them if they would have came out to change this piece, how much they would have charged you. I called 2 places, right? I called 2 places and 2 of those places said over $300 on a Sunday. Welcome to America. No, welcome to America, because I am in America. So I don't know where I'm welcome into. All right. So if I didn't do Uber Eats, if I didn't start that Thursday, I would have been probably figuring out how to get a loan for thousands of dollars to clean up a mess because I couldn't afford a $200 piece. And so, I don't know how it came out at work because I don't care. Like, I'm gonna tell you, I don't care. It's legal. It's not, as long as I'm not doing anything illegal, anything crazy, right? I'm gonna do it. And my boss was like, you're not supposed to do Uber Eats and DoorDash. And I was like, look, I'm gonna keep it 100. I said, if I didn't do it, I would have came in here mad, angry, frustrated, stressed out, because then I wouldn't try to been figuring out how to clean up a multi-$1,000 issue. It'd probably been $10,000 to $20,000 to fix the issue that if I didn't go and do Uber Eats for those few days to pay $200, right? And so it's situations like that when we're looking at that, that we're having to help people to realize like sometimes your job is going to put you in a situation where you're going to have to make tough decisions, right? And the one thing that I like about what his story is that, you know, people are going to see what you're doing. If you are a content creator, if you are trying to help people in different ways. I know people that are in ministry that have been told they can't do ministry because it's the job or ministry. Like I've heard people, I know pastors that had to choose between their jobs, their actual careers, and whether to follow their calling in ministry. No one should have to do that. And this is a PSA to companies. No one should have to do that, right? Because if as long as it's not interfering with what they're doing at work, as long as it's not something that is direct conflict and competition, no one should have to do that. You should not ever have an issue with someone saying, you know what, I need a couple extra bucks. Let me go out here and go DoorDash for a couple hours so that I can have a savings. That should never be a conflict for any company and for anyone that works for these companies. I'm just saying, right? So when I heard his story yesterday, and I saw that story, and again, I was just like, this is something that we really have to talk about, because what would you do if this is your dream? Your dream is comedy. Your dream is to be an author. The dream is to be a speaker. And your job told you, nah, you can't do that anymore. You can't post on your social media. You can't build a following. What would you do? And I'm going to be very honest. A lot of people are not going to, they're going to stop. A lot of people are going to stop. I know that because of that fear of the security, right? So sometimes your job is going to try to shrink you, and now you have to make a decision. You have to pay attention, okay? Because again, as long as it's not a direct competition, I've worked where I was told, hey, you can go teach other places. We don't have a problem with that. But please don't don't go work in there as a curriculum designer for the same program and take our materials over there, right? I teach courses like Microsoft Office. So it really, at that point, they're like, we don't care, because everyone's taking Microsoft content, or everyone is either using Pearson or Cengage, which are platforms. So it's not like, oh yeah, but I know people that have been told, oh no, you just can't do that. And this is like total polar opposite. So if the job is trying to shrink you, this is where you got to get into a quiet space with God. God, what do I need to do next? Where can I go so that I can still grow in my career, but I can also put my energy towards this thing that you've put in me for me to put out there, right? Because everything is not going to instantly become income generated. You know, it's going to take some time sometimes. But even if a company tells you that on your off time, you still can't do that, that's where you have to start making some tough decisions and figure out how do you move forward, right? The second thing is that you do have to have that faith that if you are put in that predicament, you know, how do you make that bold decision, right? This guy didn't quit because he was just out here being reckless. He quit because he was very clear about what it was that he wanted and where he wanted to go. And I feel like a lot of people, they don't have that clear path. It's like, I'm just going to quit. Like, I've actually met someone who was like, I want to quit my job and start a business. Oh, that sounds great. But before you do that, what kind of job? What kind of business you want to start? I don't know. I just want to start a business. Then baby, don't quit. Please don't quit your job. Like, I need you to have a clear plan as to where you're going, right? Before you take any kind of bold leaps, because you have no clear vision. You just know that you don't want to work for the man, and people have their feelings about that. But if you don't have a clear what the vision is going to be, what that business is going to be, what you're going to put that time into, then you're not ready yet, right? You might have the faith to do that, but you're not prepared, and therefore you're not ready, okay? And then the last thing is that something that so many people have been talking about, especially within the last 5 years, and we're talking about it again because we're seeing every last quarter of the year, more companies are doing these big layoffs. They said, since July, over 300,000 Black women are being forced out the workforce So one thing that we are very sure of is that security, as we used to think it is, especially when it comes to job security, isn't always safe. Like, that is a true, honest answer. Sometimes we feel like these things are the safe choice. I'm going to stay here, but it's so risky. And it becomes riskier when you are risking those safe choices for your purpose. Right? You know what your purpose is. You know what you're supposed to do. And then you're competing with this security because this is going to be the safe place. And when I say to people, no place is safe. Right? You're seeing more people, just like we did back in 2008, 2009, when people were getting laid off from these major companies. These were not the low-level people. They was not the people that was making the $30,000 a year that was being let go. These were the top executives, $400,000 a year. And they thought they had all the security. So they were out here like, hey, they buying houses that have mortgages $5,000-$7,000. Now this reality hits you, and you thought that this was your safety net. This was going to be the tell-all be-all until you decided to leave. And now they let you go. Now you got to figure out how to pay this mortgage. Or now you got to figure out how to quickly put it on the market and make it marketable so that somebody wants to help you to release this situation that you no longer can afford because your safety net is gone. So sometimes we have to realize that staying comfortable is going to delay the destiny. Because if you know what your purpose is going to do, it's going to open up doors for you. It's going to lead and guide you to the places that you're supposed to be. But again, you have to have that level of faith. You have to have that level of faith in your purpose and understand that, I know I'm good at this. 2, I know that God put this in me and other people need it. And if you are faced with those situations, especially if it's like a place where you're not thriving, you don't want to be there. This is, because some people get stuck in the in-between jobs. And I've talked about this a lot, especially with my students. I've had a lot of students over the years. I've been teaching for over 15 years now. And the one thing that I've had that disappoints me sometimes with some of my amazing students is that they'll graduate certificates, whether it's a trade program or it's a college degree, and they get stuck in the in-between jobs, right? They get stuck at the Dollar Trees. And there's no shade towards that because I found out how much Dollar Tree managers make. Then it's not bad, right? They're just dealing with a lot of stress, like a lot of stress. So they get stuck in that and not even in manager roles. They're stuck at just cashier roles as associates. And it's like you gotta push yourself to get into that career role, what you have just studied for, whether it was 9 months or 4 years. You gotta find some way to get past that, to get into your purpose. Don't allow the in-between job to keep you stuck there. Because, oh no, you can't do that. You can't have that. You can't. No, you gotta start really making some really hard decisions, and you gotta go hard for it. So that means that if you're a person who is trying to get into content creation, or you're using social media to push out your content as far as your gift. So like I said, with Mojo, he used social media for his comedy. I use social media for my motivation, my inspiration, for my books. That's what I use social media for. So however you're using it to leverage, then you have to like go extra hard on that. Like that's going to have to be your focus. And this is one thing I can tell. Like I said, Mojo started to come up on my timeline probably around like 2021. And he just kept going, right? So I want to stop there because Jelly Bean is in his feelings right now. But I want y'all to really start focusing on and betting on yourself. All right. So I really just want y'all, not every dream is going to require you to quit your job. But when your job demands that you abandon who you're becoming, you owe it to yourself to listen. And that's how I'm going to end this message. All right. Y'all have an amazing day on purpose, with purpose. I am your girl, Tanisha Shanae. I'll see you next year.
Man, that was another great message, Tanisha. Listen, friends, if you are not watching Morning Inspiration with Friends with Tanisha, then you are missing out. Hit that subscribe button and even share with a friend because this is the best way to start your morning. Check Tanisha out every Monday through Friday around 7 a.m. CT time. You will not be disappointed.